Folks, it's not good.
We have some breaking news coming in. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaking right now after the U.S. slapped Canada with 25% tariffs. Let's listen.
The Trump tariffs took effect about 14 hours ago, and the Maoist vanguard, Canada, has vowed infinite genocide upon America, and we deserve it.
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, allying.
He sounds mad. You have to understand that what's happening right now is unprecedented in American history. Canada is the greatest neighbor you could possibly have. They are so kind to us. Like, geopolitically, they're literally no agitation, no border dispute, no threats, just non-stop perfect ally in every way. You literally couldn't ask for a better, I can't think of any other example of like a better border ally, you know? And then out of nowhere, they're our enemy literally for no reason. Like it's just unprecedented, you know?
Murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite.
Me when I crash the economy because I'm bored.
We will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion.
Why do MAGAs have such a massive chip on their shoulder? Because persecution complex is literally like the bedrock of fascism. It's the reason why all white supremacists open with how their like personal sob story about how white people are oppressed. And all misogynists talk about how like feminists have ruined the West. They never open triumphantly. They can never admit like actually we're the bullies. They sometimes revel in it, but it's always like in retribution, you know? So now a bunch of conservatives have to pretend that Canada somehow did something to deserve this, which, you know.
Worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time. Should these tariffs not cease, we are in active and ongoing discussions with provinces and territories to pursue several non-tariff measures. Measures which will demonstrate that there are no winners in a trade war. Now, just like I did a month ago, I want to speak first directly to the American people.
Hi.
We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything
now bring it
in
home
between.
by calling them evil. Say there's no reason for it.
They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade war that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth.
Thanks for clearing that up.
So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today. Now, the legal pretext your government is using to bring in these tariffs is that Canada is apparently unwilling to help in the fight against illegal fentanyl. Well, that is totally false. Let's look at the facts. Our border...
This is actually pretty good, by the way, you know? I'm glad that he's being specific with it. I'm glad that, like, the overriding message here is essentially, like, me when I have to shoot my dog because I'm bored or something. You know, like, how obvious it is that this is being done for no reason. You know, will this just affect America, or will the rest of the world be negatively affected? Nothing just affects America.
Already safe and secure.
I just cringe at the evil fentanyl talk. I mean, we do have a fentanyl epidemic that has killed lots and lots and lots of people. Yeah, this is what a competent lib looks like. Hold the f*** on, okay? You people, you have goldfish brain, okay? This is Justin Trudeau we're talking about, all right? Let's not, like, glaze the man just because he's rising to the, you know, to the occasion here.
Far less than 1% of fentanyl flows and less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States comes from Canada. But we acted because we know we can always do better. We responded to concerns, including from the president, by implementing an ambitious $1.3 billion border plan. A border plan that includes generational investments in new AI and imaging tools to stop the flow of fentanyl in its tracks, stronger coordination and information sharing with American agencies, along with the deployment of drones, helicopters, and additional personnel to keep our border secure. Now, a month ago, as part of an agreement with the United States that paused the tariffs, we made further commitments. We appointed Kevin Brosseau as our fentanyl czar, a man who dedicated his multi-decade career in law enforcement to combating organized crime.
Trudeau should grow a trade war beard. Yes, that's what we need. We need, like, every leader that's embattling America in the trade war to do the Zelensky thing, where, like, rather than you're not in a suit, you're in, like, a Henley. You have to look like Punished, you know? Punished Trudeau, Punished Stoner. Like, get all of them on it, you know? Can we talk about how this whole blank czar bit is lame? Holy shit. It's not a bit. It's just a term to refer to, like, an informal advisor and supervisor over a topic. It's not a bit. It's not an official government position. It's just, it's not a bit.
Crime networks and drug trafficking. We designated 7 drug cartels, sick, evil groups who cynically profit off the pain and suffering of people on both sides of the border, as the terrorist organizations that they are. And just yesterday, we launched a new joint operations partnership supported by a $200 million investment.
Bosher claims that strong economic ties bind country together is proven wrong when a fascist is in charge. You realize, like, you're literally on the other side of right on this one. Like, this proves my point perfectly. The fact that we had strong economic ties with Canada means there's an enormous amount of suffering and friction associated with detaching from the country. Whereas if we didn't have strong economic ties to begin with, none of this would even be possible, and we would just drift away with no pull apart. This is the point. We're seeing the consequence of that intertwining, of that mesh. Yeah, we rely on their energy, you know?
Between Canada's security and law enforcement agencies, a partnership that will enhance the coordination of information and intelligence in order to thwart criminal gangs involved in the illegal fentanyl trade. And critically, our actions are working. As the U.S. Customs and Border Protection just acknowledged, there was a 97% drop in fentanyl seizures from January compared to December, to a near zero low of less than half an ounce seized in January.
That is crazy.
With all the further enforcements and actions we've taken at the borders. In sum, we stepped up. We engaged closely and constructively with the president and his administration. We did everything we promised. We stuck to our word. And we did it because we believe in working together to protect our citizens. Now I want to speak directly to one specific American.
Me.
Donald.
Oh.
In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations.
This is really funny.
And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now, to my fellow Canadians, I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this.
No, Trudeau, don't pretend he's smart. I think like the thick sarcasm should be. I know for people in chat who need the tone indicators, he's being sarcastic when he praises Trump here. It's pretty clearly not sincere.
Storm. From expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help. But Canada, make no mistake, no matter how long this lasts, no matter what the cost, the federal government and other orders of government will be there for you.
He's being diplomatic. He's not being diplomatic. Can you guys really not, can you really not read the, did you not see him like smiling? We've done big things. It's not diplomatic at all. It's actually a pretty, like, condescending tone.
We will defend Canadian jobs. We will take measures to prevent predatory behavior that threatens Canadian companies because of the impacts of this trade war, leaving them open to takeovers. We will relentlessly fight to protect our economy. We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day, because this country is worth fighting for. Les derniers mois ont été stressants
here we go.
et honnêtement épuisants.
All right, while the Prime Minister is speaking in French, I want to bring in CNN's Paula Newton. She's joining us from Ottawa. CNN.
No.
An export.
We are doing...
Switch back to English.
Excuse me. Vice President Vance right now. I want to listen.
Show very clearly that in terms of taking action on fentanyl, we are doing everything.
I don't care.
Yesterday,
send more
that there
fentanyl
is
to
nothing
America. Exacerbate the problem. I don't care.
Canada or Mexico can do to avoid these tariffs underlines very clearly what I think a lot of us have suspected for a long time, that these tariffs are not specifically about fentanyl, even though that is the legal justification he must use to actually move forward with these tariffs.
The United States has announced it's suspending aid for Ukraine.
The Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, and saying that based
honestly, really based from him. It's a good bit, you know. What's Poilievre saying?
At 12:01 a.m., President Trump stabbed America's best friend in the back.
It must really suck when you've branded yourself as Canadian MAGA and then the leopard eats your face and you're like, wait, hold on, we have an identity beyond that. What is Canadian conservatism if not American conservatism light? We will resist Donald Trump, but without transgenders. Is that what the speech is?
My message to the president is this: Canada will fight back. We will defend our people and our economy, and we will put Canada first. There's no doubt that our economy will suffer.
I think that as of today, and this polling isn't even taking into account the post-tariff economic situation, but as of today, the primary aggregate polling data place for Canada's upcoming election now has the highest probability is a coalition government run by the Liberals. Yeah, we've seen this grow closer and closer over time, but I think that like the most likely possibility between the Liberals and the NDP, a successful coalition government. And it's only going to go up. It's only going to go up. Meanwhile, I think Doug Ford has threatened to strap himself to a rocket and launch himself at the White House. He said they're going to, quote, burn it down again.
Yeah, they're nervous because of President Trump. We have to make sure you have two choices here, folks. We roll over as a country and just let them run over us, or we fight like hell, like we've never fought before. I'm taking option 2. I'm fighting like hell, and we're going to protect Canada. He's underestimating the Canadian people, the resilience of the Canadian people, and the strength of the Canadian people. I said, number 1, I don't start a tariff war, but we're going to win this tariff war. Right off the hop, I've directed the LCBO, we're the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world, to remove every bit of U.S. alcohol off the shelves. I know my good friend, the governor of Kentucky, he's losing his mind right now. I said, you better talk to your president. Mitch McConnell, senior senator from Kentucky, they're losing their mind. We purchased over $1 billion of alcohol, 3,600 products, 35 states. It's going to hit them. We call them the kitchen table issues. Then we're going to cancel Starlinks right away from Elon Musk. Not that $100 million makes a difference for him, but it's principle. I've directed the procurement of over $30 billion of goods, not to go to the U.S., to make sure we buy Ontario first. And if we can't find it in Ontario and we can't build it in Ontario, we go across the country. I'm asking politely.
I do maintain that, like, America is unique in that we have the most fake patriotism in the world. Because it seems like if you go to Canada, Mexico, Germany, Britain, whatever, the like patriots there, whether or not they're on the right or wrong side of politics, I'm not defending them like based on their positions, but there seems to be a lot of authentic, like, we ball, we defend our country. American conservatism is the most like disingenuous, like, you know, America first, but all of our merch is made in China. America first, but like we're actually sold out to Russian oligarchs. America first, but here's 50 trillion to Israel or whatever. Like we don't actually have patriots in this country. It's crazy. We really need to reclaim patriotism, you know, because Republicans are so open to that line of attack.
Before until I implement it, every retail store, when you go look at the shelf, Darker, it has the price. We need to see a
I don't know, Western European countries have a very low percentage of people who say they would fight if they were invaded. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about, like, actual love of your country in the politicians who claim to represent it, you know? And I just think we have a very, very fake... Of course, every American's going to say they would fight to defend. They've all seen Red Dawn. Whatever they say, that's bullshit, right? You know? You know who actually did sign up to fight and defend? Ukrainian people. But no one's out there, you know, prior to 2022, nobody was out there talking about, like, you know, Ukrainian loyalty, Ukrainian patriotism. People rise to the moment if they're needed, you know?
Canadian flag on that price. A lot of people can't pick it up and scan it. So please,
consumerist and performative, yeah.
Or we're going to legislate it. I'll tell you this. Uranium for the U.S. comes from Saskatchewan. I've had deep conversations with my good friend, closest ally, Scott Moe, the Premier of Saskatchewan. That uranium goes over to Port Hope, Ontario to get processed. From Port Hope, it goes down to get enriched, down to the U.S. I will not and cannot speak for Scott Moe. He's a patriot. He loves Canada.
Speaking of.
But if we got to stockpile our high-grade nickel here in Ontario and sell it to the world, so be it. And as for uranium, I'll leave that up to Scott to decide. The potash that fertilizes all their farming communities. As President Trump is going after our dairy farmers, we're sending them fertilizer. 87% of it is going to the U.S. And yeah, can they try to get potash everywhere else? They can, but they can't get it up the Mississippi River. So they're stuck with Canadian potash. Can they get uranium? Yeah, if they want to cozy up to Russia, which I see President Trump doing, you can try to get uranium there. But why would you do that? We want to ship more uranium, more potash, more nickel, more energy, and build an AMCAN fortress. I can't, for the life of me, figure out why this guy's attacking his closest neighbors, allies, and friend. A tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. And I'm going to repeat that on NBC, CNN, Fox News, CNBC. I'm going to be hammering the airwaves to get that message to the Americans. They're going to get hurt. It's the wrong decision. But if they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face.
Yes.
So, and I'm encouraging every other province to do the same. Quebec, Manitoba, BC. We all have to act in unison. Out east, they rely on our energy. They need to feel the pain. They want to come at us hard. We're going to come back twice as hard.
About the Starlink deal.
Holy based, man. We love our conservative Maoists. I mean, Mao is a conservative, so.
Why not cancel that right now, given what the president, the display in the Oval Office? You've been a strong supporter of Ukraine. We know that Starlink, there's been a problem with Starlink in Ukraine, and Mr. Musk, why not send a message right now to the Ukrainian people and to people in Canada and say this deal is done, we're not doing business with this guy?
I'm not going to start a tariff war. I'm not going to be the one that pokes the line, per se. But I can assure you, he comes out.
They're really united on this, man. Alberta Premier says she supports Trudeau's response to Trump's foolish tariffs. They're all falling in line. All of the, even the more dipshitty of the conservative provincial premiers are like, you know, I'm willing to set aside our previous differences and disagreements. You know, in actuality, like I will wholly commit the resources of my province to the destruction of the United States of America. Finally, united Canada.
We read in Politico that Ontario Premier Doug Ford threatened to shut off his province's electricity exports to the United States and block shipments of Ontario's high-grade nickel, which he said provides 50% of U.S. supplies, as per the Globe and Mail. He added, if they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do anything, including cutting off their energy. This is energy to the United States, with a smile on his face.
I need action. I need it to happen. Destroy this blighted country.
With us now is the man, I guess, behind that smile, Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario in Canada. Premier, thank you so much for being with us. Okay, what?
Yes. Give me the plummeting Dow Jones tracker right there. I love that. So here we are, coming live with the Canadian Premier, who has threatened to, quote, reduce Washington, D.C. to ash. And piss on it. In the corner here, we have the plummeting market. Please.
What are your plans, and how far are you willing to take it?
Well, first of all, I have to tell you, Canadians love Americans. We love the U.S. It's one person that's causing these problems. I've talked to senators and congresspeople and governors, Republicans and Democrats. Not one of them agree with them. I've talked to business CEOs of the largest companies. They totally disagree with this. And President Trump ran.
Man, watching Trump's Fox News speech and watching the market plummet, that was honestly incredible. You rarely get to see stuff line up that well. Did you guys see that? It was a cut from the Fox News coverage of his live announcement, where as he announces he's actually doing the tariffs this time, you can see the Dow.
But so we're going April 2nd, but very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico.
Yep, right as he says it.
So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. But
man, the economy is wacky.
On a mandate to lower costs, to create more jobs. This is going to do exactly the opposite. The auto sector, we buy over 400% more autos than Mexico, 200% more than anywhere in the world. And, you know, he put up a smoke screen, he keeps moving the goalposts. Well, the market is speaking loud and clear. The market is going to go downhill faster than...
Just to be clear, Doug Ford is actively sabotaging our healthcare system to privatize it and sell it off to his friends. Yeah. Again, it's not about glazing the guy, okay? This is like a Winston Churchill situation. Massive piece of shit, but I'm not going to, you know, in the matter of fighting them on the beaches, you know, I'll defer to his words.
The American bobsled team, and we're going to continue seeing in the U.S. plants close, assembly lines shut down. In the auto sector, they may last 5, maybe 8 days before the parts that go back and forth across the border 8 times. This is unnecessary, and we do have to retaliate. And I apologize to the American people. It's not you. it's your president that's causing this problem. We're the #1 customer in the world to the United States. We had a great relationship. I want to continue on with that relationship, but I will use every tool in our toolbox to send a message to President Trump that this is the wrong thing to do. When Warren Buffett comes out and says this is basically insanity, you have to listen to someone like Warren Buffett.
Conservatives are unironically better at fighting fascism than pathetic neolibs. Well, conservatives and neolibs are basically the same thing. The real difference is that the American political system has been captured almost in its entirety by capital. Like, capital has a greater influence here than on any country on earth. We are the center of the world business-wise, global reserve currency, et cetera, you know? It's not even a matter of how democratic it is. It's that there's no government through which more money runs than the United States, the federal government. This is the reason why, by the way, there are so many honest, genuine, earnest, authentic politicians on both sides of the aisle, by the way, once you go down to the state and local level. Not saying there aren't plenty of pieces of shit, disingenuous, corrupt motherfuckers. There are. But it's very, very different because it's the federal government through which the enormous economic current flows. But this is bad for the bourgeoisie as well. Well, unless you want to deliberately cause a recession to further the accumulation of capital in the hands of a smaller and smaller group of people, which is what they're trying to do. But yeah, in other countries, if you go to like Germany, France, Canada, we're seeing, I think that there are a lot more, I'm not going to call them like better politicians or better people. I would say that there are people driven by more earnest conviction, you know? From what I've seen, even in like British Parliament, and it's a dying country. I'm not defending Britain, but if you look at them, if you look at the behavior of like French parliamentarians or in Germany, I think you genuinely see, you know, if nothing else, you see people who care a little more, their personalities a little more invested into it. In our country, though, like everything is subsumed by capital.
So some of the thinking inside the administration goes something along the lines of, in the United States, we can withstand more pain than you can in Canada. So how much pain can you withstand here?
Well, we have the lowest debt in the G7. The United States have more debt than anyone. He wants to come and...
Also, like, Canada has free healthcare. I mean, sure, their housing market's but, you know, just in terms of being able to weather, like, you know, hardship, better education, yeah. He's debt flexing? True, he's debt flexing. The real reason is that the Canadian people are willing to weather hardship, and the American people are not. That's it. It's literally that. Thank you. Just imagine how much suffering you would be willing to put up with if you felt it was for a good cause, you know? Imagine how much you would be willing to sacrifice at the grocery store, the big box store, whatever, you know, your purchasing habits, if you thought it was being done for like a necessary good. How much discontent was there back in World War II when people were getting like rationed their food, you know? It was hard to make clothes because of fabric shortages. Everything was being used for the war effort. The God's honest truth is, for the most part, people considered it their patriotic duty, and they were right to, right? It was a total war effort. Everything went to the war machine so we could win over there in Europe. And it was for a good cause. Controversial position these days, but the Nazis were bad. And I'm glad we participated in beating their ass into the ground. They were willing to put up with rations. Nowadays, what are Americans willing to sacrifice anything for? Fat, stupid, lazy, entitled motherfuckers, don't believe in anything, socially disconnected. We deserve to suffer.
Get a tax break, put a tax break through. He's relying on 2 Congress people. He loses 2 people. That's it. These tax breaks aren't going. And
Golem talking about Samwise Gamgee.
Backs of the American people.
Stupid, lazy.
He's going to create job losses. Inflation's going up. The market's dropping. Gas prices are going up. Groceries are going up. For what? We have a very fair trading balance. And if we exclude the energy, the oil that we ship down 4.3 million barrels a day to keep cars going, the U.S. has a $55 billion surplus on everything else, on manufacturing. And I'm fine with that. 55 billion is fine. But we're your #1 customer to 20.
Unfortunately, Europeans are treatlers too, though. No, they're not. You can look at like any data when it comes to like consumptive habits, where their money goes, the average debt of a citizen, like how much they run up in the credit bill. It's not even close. Americans are a different species compared to Western Europeans.
8 states have directed our Congress to take off all the alcohol. We're the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world. We sell to 30, or we buy from 35 states, 3,600 products, over $1 billion. They're coming off. We directed our team to pull off the $30 billion of contracts and not use any American companies. And again, I apologize to the American people, but the red states, the people have to start calling their senators, their governors, and congresspeople to stop this insanity that one person's causing.
What do you understand the demands to be? On the one hand, we've heard over the last few weeks it's cracking down on the border, going after fentanyl distribution. Now the president's saying he wants much of the manufacturing returned to the United States. What do you think the ask is?
The rhetoric has been extremely good here. I like 100%. Yeah. The rhetoric here of like, listen, your country is being held hostage by a lunatic. The suffering will continue until you oust him. Listen, okay, unlimited economic genocide against the United States of America will continue until you fix your shit, essentially. Like, this is a you problem.
Well, you can't, in the auto sector, and no one knows what the ask is. It depends on what he wakes up and eats in the morning, and that changes.
Will it reach the right people?
Auto sector,
the suffering will.
You can't unscramble an egg that's been made since the 1960s in the auto pack and expect plants to just open up. We buy as many cars as we sell down to the U.S. It's been working. It's a great system that we have right now with all the auto sectors, but it'll only last 8 to maybe 10 days at the max, and then you're going to see auto plants being shut down. I wish we knew what the president wanted. We need to sit down and move forward on the USMCA and put this behind us.
I just got to ask you, very briefly, how upset, how mad are Canadians? Canadians aren't usually the types to get angry, but how mad are Canadians this morning?
They're really pissed.
They're absolutely livid. They're furious because we look at the United States as our family. We're one big family. We've stood shoulder to shoulder in wars and every other crisis there is. We love the American people, but unfortunately, the president has gone sideways on ourselves. And we power, Ontario powers 1.5 million homes and businesses in New York, in Michigan, in Minnesota. I've talked to all 3 governors. I want to ship more electricity. I want to send more critical minerals, but I will not hesitate to use every tool in our toolbox to protect Ontarians and Canadians across the board. I've never seen patriotism run so wild across our country. Right down to the grocery aisles, people refuse to buy American products. This is not right. We love America, we love the people, and the president needs to be stopped. Simple as that.
I love it. I love the rhetoric. It's as much as I could ask for. Yeah, Trump, in response to the reciprocal tariffs from Canada, has threatened to put a double extra super duper tariff on Canada. Please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the United States, our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. So 50%. So he's threatening a 50% tariff on imported goods from Canada, which would be, Mr. President, you're a genius. Do it. Do it. Do it. You have the ability to essentially unilaterally do this. So yeah, please. Such a crybaby. Like I said, fascism is always built upon like permanent aggrievement. You're always the victim. You're always the crybaby. Did you see the Trump admin suggesting raising chickens to combat egg prices? Victory Gardens, we are so back. Trump admin says Americans should farm chickens to combat egg prices. Sure. Oh man. $3.42 for a dozen eggs on January 10th to $8.03 on February 26th. Incredible. Yeah, this is how you get bird flu to jump to humans. Oh, wait, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Bird flu is being spread by wildfowl, or wild birds. They could move, like, to the chickens in your stock, and you wouldn't even know. You would have no way of testing for it. Genius. We're doing Maoism? We're gonna have to kill the goddamn sparrows again. He was right. He was right all along. God damn it. That's what I get for doubting him. He was just too early.
Impact. Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Yeah.
Impact.
Dramatic. I sold order for a customer. $80,000 truck. It's $100,000 now. So he's not going to buy the truck. It's going to sit on my lot at the higher interest rates we're paying right now for floor plan, and nobody's going to buy the truck because It just had a $20,000 price increase.
Right. Kelley Blue Book will put the number up. They say the average vehicle will go up by about $3,000. Does it sound right to you?
No, it will not. We don't have the broad stroke. We don't have the linear, the tight strokes. But to me, it's a 25% tariff. So that affects our parts that come from over these countries, and a whole bunch of our cars.
And you've been basing your business model on free trade, basically. This is what the American Automakers Policy Council says, Maria, in response to this. They say our American automakers invested billions in the U.S. to meet the requirements of the current free trade agreement. They shouldn't have their...
Somebody earlier in chat asked if there's another class divide between the bourgeoisie and the oligarchs, and I actually think that's I think that's true, yeah. You know, times have changed in the past 150 years. There is definitely a distinct class interest for the top, like, 0.00000, you know, like literally like a few hundred or maybe a few thousand oligarchs and their political consultants and the people like the co-conspirators on top. And then below that you have, but you could probably say like maybe 1 to 5% of America is like bourgeois in like small business ownership sort of way. It's kind of blurry lines these days, the way stock ownership works. But, you know, wherever you want to draw that line, there's definitely a line here, you know? That's crazy. Yeah, don't buy any new cars, I guess. Or don't buy cars at all. Get on a bike. You know what? Walk. Actually, never leave the house.
We're going to look at presidents at this point in their presidency, right? And the word here that I would use to describe Trump is awful. In fact, the only person who does worse than Trump does right now with a +1 net approval rating is himself back in 2017 when he was at -8. So he's doing better than he was.
I was going to say, you could spin it another way. He's making gains.
He's making gains, but he's doing worse than everybody else.
He really is a record-setting president.
Get this, plus 27 points on their net approval rating. Donald Trump is doing historically awful. The only person he beats is, again, himself from term number 1.
How about on the issue that, one, he says he was most elected to fix, and he said he would do it on day one, which would be the economy.
On the economy, well, he beat himself on overall, but on the economy, he can't even beat himself. Again, this is historically the worst going back in polling at this point in a presidency, the net approval rating on the economy. He's right now at -4 points. In term number 1, he was at +8 points.
That's actually significant. Republicans usually do really well in the economic polling as well. For him to already be at -4, that's huge. And it's going to get even worse. It's going to get a lot worse. Like a lot worse than this. His cult relationship with his base man. Yeah, it makes me wonder if one of the big reasons why his approval right now is higher than it was at this point in 2017 is because of the fact that he has like total consolidation from the Republicans, where he didn't back in 2017.
Historically, the average is +15 points. He is doing nearly 20 points worse than the average president when it comes to the economy on net approval rating. He is historically doing awful, awful, awful. Weak. And on the issue on which he was elected to, of course...
Other way around. I'm talking general approval, not economic approval. Are you covering the congressional address later? No, I'll just skip out on like the really important political event that my job is to cover.
Fix, he is doing historically awful. This is not good. If this number holds, you can guarantee his overall approval rating will go down, and it could take his entire presidency with him.
And this also now can change very quickly because of tariffs. I mean, you have a lot of mixed reaction coming in from especially amongst Republicans on what these tariffs are really going to mean.
It's not really mixed in like any meaningful sense.
I mean, can these tariffs help the president?
I don't think they're going to help the president, at least in the near term. And the reason why is simply put, look at the opposition. Americans oppose tariffs on Canada. Look at this. You got nearly 2/3 of the country opposing it on Canada, 64%. How about on Mexico? Nearly 3/5 of the country at 59%. We're already...
I'm actually really surprised by that. The fact that 59% of Americans disapprove of tariffs on Mexico, just considering how bad we are to them. I don't know. That's pretty impressive. A timestamp of Trudeau speculating on Donald Trump's motivations?
I'm just trying to remember. What was that? Cosma, that's right. I think in terms of what he wants, I heard he talked about banking again this morning in a tweet, which Doesn't make any sense because American banks, there's about 16 American banks currently active in Canada holding about $113 billion worth of assets in this country. So the American banks are alive and well and prospering in Canada. It's an example of not really being able to see what it is that he wants, because even the excuse that he's giving...
It just occurred to me that I'm not interested in political analysis from a liberal. What are the chances that Trump removes these tariffs in a few days because of how unpopular it is? He can't. He's already committed too much. He's committed way too hard. Like, at this point, even if the nothing ever happens, folks wins and he pulls back, it's like huge political damage. Like, what the f is he doing? You know? It's like, at this point, the degree of commitment, he's doubled and tripled and quadrupled down. He can't. Even if he does, it would hurt him, you know? The knife's already in. Well, we'll see. While we're on Can-U.S. relations, Freeland, a former foreign minister, is suggesting we need nukes. Hell yeah, man. To deter Trump threat? Yeah. America keeps threatening to invade. Why not? Hell yeah, man. Go for it. Have nukes. I don't give a shit. Canada's probably one of the less dangerous countries, like in terms of, you know, nuclear... possession of nuclear weapons. Proliferation to Canada. There are worse countries to have nukes. India and fucking Pakistan have had them for a while, and the world hasn't ended yet. Canada doesn't have nukes. No, surprisingly few countries have nukes. Mostly because a lot of them that could have nukes rely on the United States to be kind of like the global umbrella. You know? We're not anymore.